Thank you for watching Resource Talks. My name is Antonio, and as you can see behind me, this is not the usual dungeon that you're used to seeing me in. I have once again been allowed to venture off into the real world, and I'm in Toronto for the PDAC. Now, the PDAC is where the entire mining industry gathers to tell its story, with the word story being the key word here, because really that's what most of these companies are. Just a story. Now, not all of them, though. Some companies have real projects, real geologies, and maybe even real potential, dare I say. Others, not so much. They're kind of selling a dream and kind of hoping that you don't really ask the right questions. So I'm going to try and ask the right questions. Now, even if I did scrap all three of my brain cells together, unfortunately, after a 20-hour commute and the time difference and the copious amounts of coffee that I've been having over the last couple of days, I would not have been able to come up with the right questions myself. So instead, I called for some help from people who actually know what they're doing, and I asked three geologists one simple thing. If I could only ask a company one question to figure out if they're serious or just spinning a story, what would that question be?
I'm asking what their exploration target is. So in Australia, that's more clearly defined. Under the JORC code, you can actually publish an exploration target, and then you kind of get a guidance about what success looks like for the company. Right. You don't see that as much in TSX numbers, but I still want to know from management what success in their eyes is going to look like.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sort of stack up to what I think success can and should look like, then maybe I'm not interested in it.
To get more specific on that, what's kind of an answer that you're looking for? Like, what would you see as a good answer? And specifically for me as a non-geo, they can lie to me as much as they want to. I'm probably not going to know.
Yeah. So I think it's got to be big enough that the company could potentially get bought out, right? So what does that mean? I mean, majors are pretty well defined on what they call tier one or what their minimum resource thresholds are. So it's kind of like if it's gold, 2 million tons, 2 million ounces of gold contain gold, or in copper, maybe 4 million tons contain copper. So if I can't see that sort of potential, then there's not much reason to own the stock. It's going to be a lot harder.
What's a red flag in an answer of a geologist, like something that gives it away that, maybe I don't want to spend too much time talking to them?
I guess if the guy doesn't know what he's talking about and he kind of says something that's clearly bullshit, then I can normally pick that.
You can.
Yeah.
I can't.
I think if you use the simple rule of 2 million ounce potential, then that's pretty good. And then the question's a good one because then you have to start thinking about what are the grade, what's the grade, and how big are the tons going to be as well. So that's why I want to know what their exploration target is.
What about if I'm going into the core shack right behind you here, and I'm looking at a bunch of core? It looks beautiful, but I'm not buying a stock because the core looks beautiful. What am I looking for in the core?
In the core, it is the shiny stuff, right? So sulfides are going to be where all the value is. So the more shiny stuff, the better the core looks.
What's one last thing? What's one company I should talk to while I'm here at the core shack?
There's lots of good issues here.
You only get one. Think about it.
In this current row, I mean, they're changing on Tuesday. I enjoyed my conversation with Tim from Copernico today.
Okay.
That's their geologist. He's an extremely good geologist. And, you want to put your money where the talent is, I guess. So they haven't published what you might call an economic intercept yet, but they're exploring for a skarn-type mineralization in Peru. So, pretty exciting.
All right, Joe, if you're talking to an issuer or to the geo of an issuer and you've got like one question to ask them, what would you ask them?
Well, I think we've done this before, but usually I look at the background of the individual geo to know that if the deposit that they're trying to delineate, if they have any experience in that style of mineralization, and also jurisdictionally, if they've worked there. So the different types of deposits. So if somebody has a particular like expertise in one type of, let's say, a copper deposit, but they're doing a different type, then for me that's not relatable.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing that I would need to know.
Okay.
You know, what's there, because everybody needs a comparative advantage. Why are you here?
Yeah. So the answer that you're looking for is experience, specific experience in the
Specific
task.
experience.
Yeah.
Not like if you have 30 years of experience in something that doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
Right. And you would walk away
Oh, easily.
every time?
Every time. Because
What about the first timers?
3,000, 4,000 companies to pick.
Okay. What about the first timers? There's plenty of examples of geos that hadn't done it before, but they can still do good work.
Yeah, but they do good work, but they've got a little bit of experience in it, and you could see that growing. I don't need like 20 to 30 years of experience in it, but if somebody's going, let's say, into the Argentine Andes, and he usually worked in Africa, then that's a bit problematic because one's a SEDEX hosted deposit, the other's a porphyry, one's at, 100 meters above sea level, the other was at 5,000. So all that kind of logistics stuff is also very important, not just the geology. Is how do you handle the exploration program?
Right. What about the specific core? Like if I go to the core shack right behind us here and I start looking at the core, it all looks beautiful. They can tell me stories, but I'm not a geo. What am I looking for?
So what you'll probably see in the core of anybody is the best stuff they've got to show. So that'll be the best of the best. But the best of the best is probably not representative of what this will end up being if it's anything. And so you want to know like how much of this is there.
Okay.
Is this all of it or is this just one little bit?
Okay.
Which is fine, but then what's the rest of it look like?
What percentage of the core that you've drilled so far looks like what you're showing me now?
Exactly.
That's a good question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then everything else looks like that, then I'll go, well, I want to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also to find out, sometimes the great stuff looks metallurgically the most benign. But then the other stuff, I don't know metallurgically what that looks like.
Yeah.
So ore domaining in the end is very important.
Right.
And then because a lot of this stuff, like with porphyry specifically, you have grade coming in from what we'd call a high sulfidation epithermal overprint. But that could have a lot of enargite in it, which brings copper and arsenic. And arsenic in a concentrate is not the best thing to have.
Yeah.
And so, what fraction of the deposit is related to that? Is that where all the grade is? What's nice about this one that is blurred out behind you is that it doesn't have much arsenic.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Outside of these two companies, who else should I be talking to here?
Well, I mean, if you're looking for what's happening in the Trump tariff world and the isolationists of the U.S., looking at a copper project that stays in the U.S., like Arizona Sonora Copper, development project that now just had a private placement about a month ago with Hud Bay, that looks interesting to me because they're going to produce cathode, and that cathode will stay in the States. Yeah.
All right, Mark, if you go to an issuer, you speak to them for a couple of minutes, but you can only ask them one question about the geology, what would that be?
Would they be prepared to mortgage their house to drill it?
What's the answer that you're looking for? Yes or hell yes?
Hell yes. Or no, probably a measured yes, so that they've thought about it a lot. It's all about conviction. It's how much they really believe in the project.
What is it? Because you can believe in a project geologically, but that's not necessarily going to be represented in the share price. I feel like that's something close to home for you, specifically right now. So sometimes maybe it's not worth it to mortgage your house and drill it for the share price, but it's worth it for the geology, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can be too in love with the project as well. So you may not be objective over it, and that happens a lot.
Okay.
But I think it was just a sort of glib way of saying measuring people's conviction, how much they really think that it's out of the ordinary, and how much they're prepared to put on the line for it. Because I've found a lot of times with companies, it's been the times when things have really got tough. People have made those hard decisions, and the good discoveries have often come from that.
Yeah. What would be a red flag as an answer to that question?
A red flag would be if they've been doing the same thing for 3 or 4 years and not making progress.
Right.
because I know as many people who have believed in something and just beaten their head against a brick wall and thrown good money after bad as well. So you've got to be very clinical about it. You've got to be an optimist as an exploration geologist, but you've got to be very ruthless as well. You've got to be prepared to walk. And there's an old friend of mine who used to say you've got to explore enough to find something, not so much to make sure that you don't miss something.
But you still do want to drill to kill it.
Yeah, I don't think you want to drill to kill it because you'll go broke doing that. You've got to be prepared to walk, and you've got to be prepared to define the stage that you're prepared to walk as well, which is usually quite early and should leave you feeling pretty uncomfortable.
Right. Last thing, what's one company I should go and talk to here at PDAC?
S2 Resources.
I've never heard of it. So let's do maybe a quick recap here. So first thing I'm going to ask them is, give me a 30-second pitch. What can you tell me in 30 seconds to get me excited? This has to be pretty exceptional. I don't get excited that quickly. What's your target size? Like if all of your geo dreams come true and if this actually works, how big is this thing going to get? As Tom Woolrych said, you want it to be big. What are the chances of this happening? Or in other words, as Mark put it, would you mortgage your house to go and drill this thing if you didn't have the money? That's going to get amusing. What experience do you have with this specific geology, specific experience for the specific task at hand? If I say specific a couple more times, I might faint. And then we're going to go and look at the core. What are we looking at? Let's see if they can break it down for someone with an average IQ of about 75, myself, and a non-geo, obviously. Can I really see what's happening in the core? And then, obviously, they're going to show me their best core, right? That's kind of their idea. But what percentage of the core that they've drilled actually looks like this? As always, before we get into it though, please pause the screen and read the warning that's on there, because we're about to talk about high-risk venture capital businesses where failure is the norm and should be the expectation. And in addition to that, I own shares of some of the companies that you're about to hear from, and some of them I also have a business relationship with where they pay for the production of these interviews. So that means there's multiple layers of bias, so please beware of that. But let's listen to the companies and what they have to say. All right, Neil, if this is the first time I'm passing by your booth and I've never heard the American Eagle Gold story, and you've only got 30 seconds to sell me on it, what do you tell me?
Oh, so the American Eagle Gold NAC project is in central BC. It's about 80 kilometers northeast of Smithers. Very, very optimal location logistically, right? It's in a cut block. It's got road access, low topography, like there's no steep mountains. The best thing about the property is it's got some very exciting mineralization. It's a porphyry gold target, but it's very unusual within its district in terms of the mineralization characteristics and the geological characteristics. So there's quite a bit of complexity to the system. There's a number of different mineralizing intrusive phases, and this has resulted in a really nice confluence of fluid pathways that have brought in pretty striking mineralization. So it's a really fun project to work on, and it's got a lot of attention from several majors. So Teck has come in, South 32 has come in. So we have a big vote of confidence from the major producers that they really like this very early exploration stage property. So yeah, that's about the pitch. I hope that covers it. But yeah, there's a lot more detail to go into, obviously. So
well, I would say that we're in probably the best jurisdiction for exploration on the planet. Kazakhstan, and we've made a brand new copper gold discovery, which you can see in our core right here.
That you didn't need 30 seconds, sounds like you've done it before.
I will tell you that this is an amazing project that was not really well explored in the past, and there is a lot of potential to increase what they know. They already know that there are high-grade veins, you are going to see the cores, but also the potential of the district is amazing because this is an intrusion-related epithermal system, and all around intrusion there are possibility of finding more high-grade veins as they found in the past.
All right, John, Mark, let's say that this is the first time I'm passing by your booth here at the PDAC, and you've got 30 seconds to sell me on the Azimut story. What do you tell me?
What I can tell you, last year in 2024, we have made 4 discoveries, field discoveries in the James Bay region in Quebec. And we are very excited about those discoveries because they are just giving us strength and the vision for much more good results.
Let's talk about what would you say of the four discoveries? What's your favorite child?
Um, I have two really nice advances. The first one is an outstanding nickel discovery with PGs with our partner KGHM. We have made an option on the Kukamas project. It's a drill discovery, largely open, high grade, very promising. The second one is related to an antimony gold discovery on the Wabamisk project that we own at 100%. Again, it's a drill discovery that we will accelerate.
Incredibly strong technical team, strong shareholder backing, recent share consolidation, so tight structure, access to capital, incredible land position in the most prospective region in British Columbia for copper and gold, which are two great commodities to be in, and there's what even the gold companies want these days. So I didn't need 30 seconds, did I?
Awali Resources, we're an advanced exploration company in Côte d'Ivoire. We've had some of the best intercepts in Côte d'Ivoire. We're on a really high-grade plumbing system. We've proven that we really are on a district-scale system with the discoveries that we have made, and we're just about to branch out on all our regional 100% properties, which I think will be the next big catalyst for the company.
We have extremely high-grade silver polymetallic deposit in western Alaska. The grade is the highest of our peer group, 980 grams per ton silver equivalent, and approximately 75 million ounces contain silver equivalent in the ground. Also, our sphalerite, our zinc mineral, is a great source of gallium. We're doing some research on that now, and that's one of our two critical minerals, which I think will be key in many mining projects going forward.
All right, Austin, let's say this is the first time I'm passing by your booth here at the PDAC, and you've only got 30 seconds to sell me on Cascadia. What do you tell me?
So we're looking for copper gold porphyry projects in the Yukon, specifically looking into the keen terrain within the Yukon, which is wildly underexplored, and we're kind of the first movers and shakers in the area, and looking to make new discoveries.
Yeah, TFT is go for gold. Like we're a gold exploration company, and I think if there's one thing to take home from TFT, it's like we go for gold. And we're a discovery-focused exploration company, focused in Timmins, and that's really what this company's about.
We're a Canadian-focused exploration company. We have one of the largest land positions in Timmins, and our strategy there is to be the go-to exploration company. We have 3 new greenfield discoveries there, brownfield project on a brownfield project, as well as we have a portfolio of projects in Yukon. It's right beside Snowline Gold in this really emerging metals district. It's basically one of the most exciting areas in Canada for new big gold discoveries. We're a small market cap right now, but we are tightly held and we're a tight share structure, and we look to create value through the drill bit. We provide exposure to Canada's most interesting jurisdictions, and we have a team that knows how to execute, and we're ready to deal.
Tell you we're high grade and growing in central Newfoundland. So we're high grade critical minerals, and for us that's copper and zinc, and we're just coming off a successful 2024 where we've made a brand new discovery, 100 meters of 1.5% copper in what I think is a tier 1 jurisdiction, which is central Newfoundland.
All right, Neil, if I'm passing by the booth for the first time and I've never heard the story, you've only got 30 seconds to sell me on it, what do you tell me?
I think the major points for our project is, even though we're brand new, we have some of the largest lithium intervals definitely in Canada, but possibly in the world. We've got our largest one is about 347 meters at 1.35% lithium oxide, which is fantastic. And we've only drilled 23 holes into the project, but we are also just getting started, of course. So we have a lot of room to grow outside of the zone that we've already tested. And as well, on top of that, the infrastructure is fantastic. We're 10 kilometers from an existing highway, and we're only 150 kilometers from the nearest railhead. So the logistics are great, the project is great, there's just a lot of green flags right now.
So we're in one of the best porphyry epithermal districts in the world. It's overlooked by lots of people because of its location in Serbia, but Serbia is a great place to work. We have
5 producing porphyry mines over 30 kilometres. We're located 4 kilometres east from the Bore mining complex, which has been mining for over 100 years. We're just on the eastern boundary of the Timok magmatic complex. Dundee are having great success on the western boundary in similar geological terrain. The area's historically been overlooked because we are on the eastern margin, but that also means there's good potential because no one's explored there before. We currently have 2 kilometres of surface anomalism, copper and gold. And the reason it's 2 kilometres at the minute is because we haven't been north and south of there, which we're doing as we speak. We've got 3 geologists out in the field doing that. We've got some really nice initial AMT results, which you can see behind me. We're planning to expand that along with ground mag across the whole licences, which will give us some information on the western portion of the licence as well, which is only 2 kilometres east from Vleky, Crevel, porphyry and the Bore trend. There's some really nice mag anomalies that coincide with phase 1 andesites, which are responsible for the porphyry mineralisation on this project. And of note, we also have the phase 1 andesites to the east of us, which answers a lot of the questions about we're in Paleozoic rocks outside of the Timok magmatic complex, but we have the same Cretaceous intrusives to the east of us, and then the porphyries, the known porphyries are on the west, so the whole system's gone underneath us. So
That's a little more than 30 seconds, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, we've taken this historic deposit that was, we feel, very misunderstood. It was drilled originally in the 1960s, and the work that we have done in a very short period of time, we're demonstrating now scale. We think that this historic deposit is something, an indication of things that are potentially much bigger and much more significant. So we're focusing now on a bigger prize. With the work that we've done, the understanding that we now have, we're getting focused on bigger and better things.
All right, John, if this is my first time hearing about Romeus Gold and you've only got 30 seconds to sell me on the story, what do you tell me?
So Romeus Gold is an old company that's got property long ago, maybe 20, 25 years ago, in some of the best camps in Canada and Nevada as well. So we own an old gold mine in Nevada. We have an exciting new property where we think there's buried porphyry copper under a series of a dozen old high-grade mines, but the big picture is there's a porphyry under there. And in British Columbia, we have probably the best undrilled porphyry copper gold target in BC that's never been drilled, right on the way into Galore Creek. It's a 1 billion-ton deposit, which heading towards feasibility.
All right, so now that we've heard all these stories, it's time to talk about size. My wife says size doesn't matter. Tom Woolrych thinks that it does. So if these people's geological dreams come true, how big could their projects get?
I have pretty big geological dreams.
More than 5 million.
Stick a number to it. More than 5 million dreams?
Yeah, if they convert it to ounces, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ounces of silver?
Gold, mate. Always gold.
But we're talking about different systems here, potentially. When you say potentially 5 million ounces, are we talking the land package as a whole, or are we talking one specific target?
No, multiple targets to put that together. Okay. And you know, so we've got a nice range of very high grade targets like Charger, and then down to BBM, which is still pretty good by anyone's terms at close to 2 grams gold equivalent with the copper as well. So, you know, there is a nice range of different targets there, from at larger scales, more than 1 million ounces at that 2 gram range, to who knows how big Charger might be, but Charger's going to be a high grade system.
And multiple charges as well.
Yeah, it could be more.
So it's the start of the system. Yeah. So you kind of end up with you kind of look to build a resource inventory, or like a global resource.
So we've got an example in our presentation that shows a recent success in the region with the GT Gold saddle discovery, and we've got Charlie Gregg, who made that discovery, is heavily involved and a large shareholder. That's a good example of a hopeful scenario, or higher, but that's kind of like, we want to make a discovery like that, and I think there's potential for multiple of those on the project because there's many targets like this on the project. So
let's put it in numbers. What would that be? How many tons are we talking about, or how many, I don't know, ounces, dare I say?
So I don't know the exact number offhand with Saddle. I think it was about 800 million tons. So that's like a nice porphyry discovery in BC is 750 to 1 billion. in that range, or bigger. Gail, sitting right over here, did her master's on Mitchell, which is, I think, 70 plus million ounces gold.
Yeah.
So that would be a great target. There's a wide range, though. You know, if you found a saddle, that would be amazing. That company sold for 480 million in a not that great of a market.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're 16 or 15 or 16 million right now.
If all of your geological dreams come true, how big could this thing get? Like, what's your target size here?
I mean, I'm a exploration geologist, and I don't like to speak in tonnage before that's been officially determined.
You can speak in pounds if that makes you feel better.
Wow, no, we're Canadian, so kilograms. No, so I can speak to it in terms of size, though, in terms of dimensions. We've traced mineralization down to a depth of well below 900 meters. I think 981 meters is the deepest hole we've drilled, and we bottomed in mineralization. And from a north-south extent right now of what's defined is about 1.1 kilometers long, and it's about 400 meters wide. It's open around the porphyry stock to the northeast and southeast, and there's numerous other targets that spur off in geophysical embayments and sub-targets within that. So the scale potential here is huge. It's a very, very large footprint of mineralization we've already discovered, and that's about 25% of the potential around the porphyry stock. So, yeah, in terms of tonnage, I mean, people can do the math, but we're talking kilometers by kilometers here. So it's a very compelling target from a scale perspective.
Well, there's two ways you can look at it. So the first way is look at the size of the anomaly we're drilling. So our first drill hole, we've got a copper soil anomaly that's 9 kilometres long. The first set of drill holes was at the very southern tip of that. That was, we hit 261 metres at 0.64 copper equivalent. And then we dragged the rig 5 kilometres up the copper anomaly and put another set of holes in, and we hit 547 metres at 0.7 copper equivalent. So it's a copper and gold project. So, you know, is the deposit 9 kilometres long? We'll find out with more drilling, which is what 2025 is devoted to. But the other way you sort of figure out how big something can get is you look at the region. And in our region, we've got 2 operating copper-gold porphyry deposits. One of them is Boschicol, produces 105,000 tonnes of copper a year and could easily double that.
It's a little bit too early to say, but all the basic parameters are already present. The most difficult one is the grade, and in that case we have outstanding grades related to the right type of rocks. We are talking about ultramafic flows of Kambalda type, a famous Western Australia mining camp. Saying that, ultimately we may end up with 15 or 20 million tons. This would be the ideal target at 3% nickel or more.
We're an early stage company, no resource yet. I think if you look in Timmins, there's lots of deposits, 500,000, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. So full spectrum of size, scale. At this stage, pre-resource, I'm not going to speculate what the size is. I think we have potential to find anywhere in that whole spectrum. And we're drilling off some really exciting looking targets right now.
Well, what do you want to find to make it worth your time?
In this camp, finding 1 million ounces, finding 2 million ounces at a reasonable grade, near surface, near infrastructure, that's the path. You know, I think finding something that is aligned with infrastructure in this camp, useful to another party. We're not going to build a mill in this camp. There's already 7 mills. So finding something that works with any of our peers, any of the producers around us, even our large shareholders, whether it's Alamos or El Dorado, these are all companies that own infrastructure in these camps. So our goal is to find something relevant, you know, sell it into somebody that owns some infrastructure, and that's really the strategy of this company.
Well, I think we can go up to 1 million ounces with the exploration. Try to reach 1 million ounces would be like a target. And then probably, as you know, the epithermal system, they are normally not just a single vein, they are a group of veins. So if we can find parallel veins related to the system, we can probably extend that more than 1 million ounces too. Yeah.
If all your dreams come true about the geology of this project, how big could this thing get?
Carbonate replacement deposits range from the largest is about 50 million tons. Santulalia, Titic is about 25 approximately. So we think on average we could certainly get to the 12 million ton range, whether it's 10 to 15. That would be average for a carbonate replacement style deposit. So we have some faulting we're going to jump across for the 2025 drilling, and the goal there is to extend our high-grade resource and at least double it in the next year or two. If we can do that, then we have passed the threshold to be an economic underground mine.
So our flagship property is the Catch property. Right now it's about 120 square kilometers, although the Stikine terrain is vast. It goes all the way from just north of Carmacks in the Yukon to just south of Whitehorse, so there's a very significant area to find new deposits.
Yeah. What's the size of the deposit that we would typically be talking about here? Again, this is forward-looking and it's kind of good feeling, but what are you hoping for?
Well, the kind of general hypothesis here is we're looking for looking in the same package of rocks that host the Golden Triangle in British Columbia. So we're looking for all the sort of same style of mineralization and geology that host those deposits. So like the Red Chris's, the Galore Creeks, those sorts of things. That's the ambition.
If you had to stick a number to it, is that something like what's the guidance that you're giving in a range format, if you will?
Yeah, so it'd be 50 million tons, so 50 million tons.
Right.
So we already have 26 million tons.
Right.
So this year we're exploring for hopefully another 15 million ton discovery here in this former Tier 1 mine, the Buckins mine.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say that, but we have four. We have Chikaru about 7 kilometers to the south. We have Bore, which has been mined for over 100 years. Now they're mining the lower zone underground. That's billion plus tons over the time. So, I mean, you can see behind me the sort of scale of the deposits we're looking for. And then, so from the drilling, we've just drilled 700 meters. We intercepted some skarn mineralization, which obviously Dundee are drilling Chokarakita on the east, and they're having some really good success. So we've got sort of two avenues that we're possibly going down.
We think what we've done thus far is we now have a 3.5 kilometer playground. So it's within this corridor that we are going to find multiple deposits. Nickel does not occur by itself. And if I was to use an analogy, if you look at sort of the Voisey's Bay scenario, I'm not saying that we have a Voisey's Bay, but there's a common structure. There are multiple intrusions occurring within that structure, and within that strike length, you have disseminated sulfides, you have sulfide breccias, and you have nice puddles, if you will, of massive sulfides. So that's the prize. And thus far, we have the indications that there should be massive sulfides, but that seems to be the missing link at the moment, and that's what we're going to be looking for going forward.
If all of your geological dreams came true for the Timmins area, how big could this thing get, your project specifically?
Yeah, so we particularly like the Argus zone. It's a new discovery we made in 2022. It's hosted by the Pipestone Fault, which is a regional structure that is host to multiple multi-million ounce projects, specifically where that discovery Argus is about 5 kilometers away from Mayfair Gold's Fenkip deposit, 4.4 million ounces. And we believe the scale of what we see so far with this system has that potential to be that multi-million ounce bulk tonnage type of discovery. So it's still early days, but we've already identified a system that's about 750 meters long by 200 meters wide, and it's completely unconstrained. And it's associated with, like I said, that Pipestone Fault, which is like a key plumbing system for the camp. So you use that analogs of the other deposits, and you can kind of see where this could potentially go.
Well, I think anything's possible, but with the 200, 300 meter intervals, it could be quite sizable. Yeah, I don't want to put any numbers out right now, but we're pretty confident that it's going to be a sizable, world-class level deposit, but we have to prove that up with the official resources. Yeah.
Galore Creek, which is about 10 kilometers away, in total is 1 billion tons in several deposits, maybe 5 or 6 deposits even in total. So perhaps individually there are 100 or 200 million tons. Our zone is 1.5 kilometers across, potentially 600 or more meters deep, so it could be in that 100 or 200 million ton range if it's all mineralized. And of course, we need the drill bit turning to prove that.
All right, so now that we know how big the geologists think their projects could get, let's talk about chances for success. How probable is it that some of that would actually happen? Or as Mark Bennett put it, would you mortgage your house to drill this thing?
Not my house. No, it's geology, right? So what I suspect we've got going on is multiple porphyry centres. So it's almost certainly not one system, but multiple systems that are overprinting each other. And really the big question is what's in between these systems? Is that mineralised? And then has it been chopped up?
Do you have enough money to go and find that out?
I think we do. So certainly to start off, to drill this out, it's going to take 30 or 40,000 metres of drilling. We will need to replenish the treasury at some point, but we've just had 10 million warrants exercised over the last couple of weeks. That's brought an additional 4 million into the treasury, and I think that gets us a good start in 2025.
Yes.
That's it? Just one word?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. If I ever had more money, I'd buy more shares.
I want to ask you about the chances of success and what you think they are, but let's maybe do it in a roundabout way. If you had to mortgage your house to drill this project, would you do it?
100%.
Absolutely, I would. I don't own a house, so it's a bit of a... I don't have much to lose, but yeah. So, but no, like I continue to put money into the company, and I'm excited to get out and drilling. We have a great exploration concept here, and given this was a tier 1 mine, I think there's a lot of potential that wasn't uncovered by like the 1920s through to 70s mining.
Probably not, no. I think that would be kind of ridiculous. My whole life is a risk already, being in exploration. But I would say that these are the best targets I've seen in my career that I've been a part of. And there's already clear signs of fertility on the project. There's already good intercepts. They just haven't been adequately tested. And we have, our team is perfect for this. We have all the right components from the team standpoint. So I would say, no, I would not mortgage my house to do this. No, I would not sell my dog to do this. But I have ground myself into the ground and put every cent that I could into the company to make this work. Hell, I've had cancer twice since I started this company. I didn't miss a day of work for that. So I'll do everything, but I won't make my life even riskier than it already is, because everything is in mining.
Well, I mean, I'm a millennial in Vancouver, so houses are out of the question. But was I fortunate enough to be in that position? No, I would put a pretty significant. I would say I would put at this stage, knowing what we know, a personal investment. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. American Eagle's been very good to me with options and just the opportunity to work on this. But this has been my full-time job for the last 3 years, and so yeah, someone who kind of lives and breathes NAC. No, I really like it. I really like the prospects. That said, it's exploration, right? So, as a geologist, we can't make the deposit be there, but we can do our best to find it. With the funding we have from South 32 now, it really de-risks the more bolder exploration plans we've wanted to do for a long time. NAC is complicated, and NAC is noisy. NAC has some really high-grade zones, and it has some lower grade, but still good, but maybe not headline-grabbing zones, right? And so the freedom exists now to take the money we have and really do some bolder tests. And just because we don't get headline booming grades on a potential step out doesn't mean that kills that whole area. We have the flexibility to be systematic with it, which is awesome. That's how you discover. So we're going to be doing a bit more of an aggressive mix of broader step outs, but still being systematic within the overall plan.
If you had to mortgage your own house to drill this thing, would you do it?
100%, any day. We've only done 23 holes, as I've said, but right now, to put the math together, it's about 850 meters by about 600 meters wide, by about 400 meters deep. So we know it's large, but we're not going to put out how large it is until we do a bit more work. We've got a lot more room to expand. So we don't want to get ourselves too far in front of ourselves by putting out a number too early. So we'll put that out eventually, but I think anybody who's seen other lithium projects know that the norm is about 20 meters is a good interval, 50 meters is great, you're really happy with 100. So to have 200 to 300 meters of pegmatite in one drill hole, we're just like through the moon ecstatic with those results.
Well, don't believe in mortgages, so I probably wouldn't do that. But Joan and I, as co-founders of the company, we've invested over the last 10, 12 years, probably close to $1 million cash, besides founding the company and contributing the properties that we personally stake. So we're pretty well involved.
Another excellent question. I'm going to say yes. What else does the CEO say?
If you had to mortgage your own house to drill the project, would you do it?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I have 4 kids, so I don't know. But yes, I will bet on this company because the project is really amazing. It's an opportunity, unique opportunity in this province. It's a mining district. Everything is really mining friendly. You have no altitude, no communities. Access is amazing. This is 600 meters high, so it's perfect for exploring. And there is a history. 14 mines were running in that province, so everything is set up for finding a good project and make that project reality. So I think the opportunities are great. I will bet on that project for sure. I bet on that project, yeah.
No, because the discovery process is entirely funded by our partner. And it's a good way to create...
So you don't have to mortgage your house?
Absolutely not. It's the best way to create value without diluting the share structure. And capitalize on our expertise, on the funding from our partner, which is a very good partner, one of the best copper producer in Europe.
I think so, man. I mean, well, no, maybe. We'll see. I think we are very excited about this property. There's a lot of potential. In our first ever drill campaign, we did intersect mineralization, porphyry copper gold mineralization in an area that's historically never been explored before. So we're onto some right things. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, as of right now, I think I own more GFG than any single other company or any other investment. So I'm a large shareholder. I've been a shareholder for the last 7 years. I'm a founder of the company, and ultimately the success and credibility of myself and this whole team is tied to GFG.
Well, I can tell you, I've been working for very low return recently on this, just because I believe in it so much. So in a way, I have invested a lot of my own time and money in this.
If the company had no money and you had to mortgage your house to drill it, would you do it?
So at the minute we're stepping back because we don't even know if we're on the best target yet. So we tested the low-hanging fruit. We had an amazing surface anomaly, which made sense to drill test. We've done that. We're now waiting for the results. And like I said, we're covering the whole project, which in combination with the BHP Explore program, they've been giving us some good insights and guiding us on the mineral systems framework and how to sort of unlock the full potential of the project. So then when we go back in with the rigs, we know we're on the best target, not the first target that we've found so far.
Right, moving on, we have to talk or keep on talking about chances for success. The chances for success increase dramatically when the team has had specific experience for the specific task at hand. So have these people worked in similar geologies or similar places in the world before?
Yes, many years in Quebec, in the southern part of Quebec, in northern Quebec, we have had a strategic alliance at some point with Rio Tinto covering nickel exploration on a very large part of Quebec, and this led to develop our in-house expertise.
Yeah, I've been working in this province for more than 25 years. So yes, I have a lot of experience on the province geology, but also in the epithermal system. I'm a kind of an expert on epithermal system and the shallow parts of the epithermal system, because I'm also a professor in the university. I'm a mixture of academics and professional. So,
Yeah, I mean, previous company we ran was Claude Resources. Claude was an established producer in Saskatchewan, same rocks. I was running their exploration, also COO or CEO of the company. So my background's finding ore bodies like this, mining them, and ultimately finding the right path for generating value for shareholders. In that case, we sold the company for almost $700 million. So we have done this before, either finding ones, running mines, and selling companies.
What increases chances of success is team experience. Do you and your team have specific experience for this type of geology in this part of the world?
Well, NAC is, I mean, yes, short answer is yes. So NAC is kind of unique unto itself. NAC bears little resemblance to the other porphyry deposits in its district. And there's not a ton of analogs we've been able to identify around the world in terms of the chemistry of the host rocks, the style of mineralization we're seeing, and the distribution of those different intrusives. So our team has worked, like Dave and I have worked on NAC for the last 3 years, so we've built our experience specifically on this deposit, and then we have other people within the fold who've worked for the last couple years on the project. So our geological team now is very familiar with NAC, and we're working with some world experts as well to try and help place this into a more global context, if it exists. So
this was Anaconda Copper Company discovery in the 1980s. I was the first project geologist to run it, so I know the geology quite well. Spent quite a few years out there in the 80s, and we've been working in this area since we acquired the property and staked it personally in 2010. So that's about the last 16 years of seasonal field work, so we know it very well. And we know how to run exploration in Alaska. Done it for many years, and our team has got well over 100 years experience of working in Alaska.
We've been in Kazakhstan now for 4 years. We're really starting to put together a team that can do the exploration efficiently. We're really starting to understand the belt of rocks that we're in. And really, it's not rocket science. It's a case of doing the work, being systematic about it, and then thinking about it once you get the results.
Do you guys have specific experience for the task at hand? Have you worked in similar geologies before or in similar parts of the world?
Yes. So I guess our geology is a bit different to the rest of the like West African Birimian geology, but that's okay. We understand the alteration system that we're in. You know, we're a strong technical team, and if you look at the success rate that we've had and the discoveries we've made with the 40-odd thousand meters of drilling that we've done now, we don't drill many dry holes. Like we put in the hard yards to make sure that our targets are good drill targets, and so I think we've got the right crew to put it together for sure.
Yeah, I think a big part of your team is also local, if I'm not mistaken. You're there a lot, Andrew.
Yeah, that's right. Look, ideally we prefer to be geology driven, but the geology is driven by nationals, by Ivorians. That's what we try and do. So we had Ben, who was our senior geologist, but we promoted him to country manager, well deserved. So we're looking to get other people to step up into his role. So we much prefer to have Ivorians leading the geology and the team.
We're looking to develop Ivorian geologists as well. So we've got our own little graduate program going now. So we've had what they call stagiaires in Côte d'Ivoire. So these are kind of like third-year students at the university, and we get like probably 20 to 25 sort of young students coming through the project throughout a year. And so we've actually handpicked 3 of those now, and we're funding their education, and they're working for us. So they're now studying part-time and working for us, and we're mentoring them and bringing them up to be good geologists for the future of Awala.
Our team's comprised of 3 very experienced, like 30-year experienced guys in Newfoundland, but particularly in VMS deposit types, which is what we have here in central Newfoundland. And so they're kind of experts in that deposit type and have been working in the camp for a long time.
So our team is actually, we're a young company, but we've actually been controlling these parts of these claims for many years actually, and our team has been there, boots in the ground for about close to 10 years plus. So we have great experience, and our ability technically to our technical experience is validated by 3 new greenfield discoveries alone, but not even just the technical and the drilling and the execution side of things, but also our knowledge with the local players, the local claim owners, to be able to do those 30 plus deals to consolidate the land position as we are. So even that's difficult as well, and that requires a really skilled and knowledgeable team that clearly you know the area and being able to do that, right?
A lot of us are new in lithium space because nobody has been looking up until about 5 years ago. So I started out 2016 really diving deep into all lithium projects, brine, clays, and hard rock lithium. So I've sort of settled on hard rock lithium. I was part of the early exploration efforts for Patriot Battery Metals, and since then we've had a few projects come through our doors, and we've landed on this one because we know it's very special. So we've got a team that's experienced on the consulting side that's done lithium projects for the last 5 years as well. So we definitely know what to do and to advance this project in a similar manner.
How's cash right now? Do you have enough money to go and drill it?
Yeah, definitely. We've got 2 drill rigs out right now, and with $12 million in the bank, we're going to be well funded in this winter and a good head start into our summer program as well.
When do you expect assays? You're drilling it right now, so what, 2 months from now?
Yeah, the turnaround time is 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to put our first shipment of core within the next few weeks, so yeah, that's about right.
What about the team's experience for this specific task at hand here? Have you guys worked in similar geologies before?
Well, that's where we have really benefited. Vanessa's not here at the moment, but she has experience at Thompson. She's seen Voisey's Bay. She's seen some of these bigger magmatic nickel sulfide projects around the world. And so I think collectively we've put together a very, very good team. We understand magmatic nickel sulfide projects, so that helps, obviously. That helps immensely.
Yep, so I've worked up and down through the Andes, through Ecuador, Peru, up in Mexico, so been exposed to a lot of epithermals and porphyries. We've got another geologist, Tom Sant, who's been working in the Balkans for the past 30 years on porphyries. He's just come from some other projects in the Timok region targeting similar prospects. And then we have 2 local guys that have been working in the porphyry mines in Bor, so they know exactly what they're looking for, what kind of rocks. And then we have another senior Serbian geo who worked for Dundee back in the day and knows the region inside out. So we've got some good local knowledge and good worldwide experience that we all bring together.
Yeah, we've been looking at porphyry projects for a number of years now. So we have some experience looking for porphyries, and we do have a very strong technical team with us. So we have the capabilities, yes.
So I've been at this over 40 years. I started in most of my career in British Columbia on skarn deposits and a wide variety of deposits. I worked for Phelps Dodge, one of the biggest copper producers in the world. Not specifically on porphyry, but it's got a lot of experience with them and a lot of visits to porphyry deposits. And we have brought experts from other companies out to the sites in both Nevada and British Columbia who substantiate what we're saying and actually have reinforced it even in stronger than our own opinion initially.
All right, so we've heard the stories, so moving on, we need to show me the money, show me the rocks. That's essentially what we're going to do here. We're going to go and look at the rocks. Now, obviously, you'd expect the companies to have brought their best-looking drill core. So what percentage of the drill core that they've brought with them actually looks like this? Like Joe Mazumdar said, how representative is what you're showing me here?
So, yeah, this is a great example to show off some of this stuff. So we see numerous intercepts of mineralized later stage monzonitic diking, which seems to be associated with bringing in the bornite we see to the system.
That's the darker stuff?
The darker stuff. So all of these little flecks here are actually bornite and primary chalcocite, which is really unusual, and it's a very high-grade copper ore mineral. So that's 80% copper by weight, bornite 60% copper by weight, compared to the more typical of what you'd find in porphyry's chalcopyrite, which is about 30% copper by weight.
I thought that was gold.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some gold in it. The gold grade here is also very strong for BC porphyry. So we're between 0.1 and 0.4 grams per ton gold throughout our lower part of the system, and in our upper stockwork part that we've identified, we're around a gram per ton gold average. So there's gold and copper here. These boxes we have polished up are pretty representative of the different dike phases we've intersected that are mineralized. Volumetrically, the dikes we've recently encountered in the north are quite large, right? We haven't defined their extent to the north and to the east, and we have pretty good indication that they plunge quite steeply to depth as well. So there's a lot of room for expansion on this northern dike. The intercepts we've had are quite thick.
And then the purple stuff is really what kind of caught my attention.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, so these are, I mean, this is massive bornite. It occurs sporadically throughout the whole drilling area in these really striking veins.
So you have it here as eye candy, essentially.
Well, it certainly draws the eye, and it's very rare you see massive bornite like this.
Okay.
What I'm probably most excited about, though, are the cryptic nature of the mineralization we see down deep in these intrusions. So these come in later. They bring what looks like primary sulfide into the actual melt. So these are murialytic cavities. This is infilled with bornite and chalcopyrite, and there's no vein pathways to supply the sulfur and the copper to this. So this indicates to us that this is primary. So there's a very strongly mineralized copper-bearing secondary intrusive phase that's permeating throughout NAC. So we intercept this at a bunch of different levels, a bunch of different locations. So we've got a pretty good handle on the orientation. So it looks like a semi-sheeted, maybe discontinuous, or offset zone of diking that brings in this mineralization. The potential exists for us to trace that to depth and to a potential source, right? So we know it comes in later. We're seeing sniffs of it all throughout the property. We're seeing different, but similarly mineralized, a different composition of intrusive up into the north in much higher volumes. So the potential exists for, like I said, a nice confluence of different intrusive phases, all bearing like really, really high copper values that cut the porphyry stock. So the exploration potential really, like, we've just scratched the surface of how much we have to explore and where the potential, as Tony refers to it as the jewel box, what might have seemed initially like a bit of a pipe dream, this is seeming like something that might actually exist down deep. So there is I would say a pretty sizable potential to find a really nice high-grade zone of intrusive rock that would be, an excellent mining target. So, and you couple that with the broad halo of mineralization around the whole porphyry, you've got a hugely mineralized footprint. So, yeah, a broad mineralized footprint punctuated by some exceptionally high-grade zones of bornite and chalcocite mineralization. That kind of characterizes NAC as we understand it right now, and we're still very much in the discovery phase and exploration phase. So,
well, the core is representative of BBM and Charger, because that's what we brought here. But if we brought Empire, it's the same thing. I mean, like we've been successful in what we've done. I think I'm not quite sure.
So, yes. It is representative.
Yeah.
That's a simple way to put it. Let's go and look at the core so you can tell me what we're looking at. Show me the money. Show me the Charger Intercept, the one the thing that got your price moving.
Yeah, sure. So look, this has probably been seen in the press releases from 83. So this is, have a look. I don't know if you want to have a hand lens, but this is filled with visible gold.
Okay.
That's the main mode of mineralization that we have with charging. Is that we have a lot of free gold within the system. Well, what we've done is we've actually brought different types of mineralization just to show how the system changes. Now here we've got what we call a hydraulic breccia. Again, visible gold, as you can see within the matrix. We've got a polymetallic style, and then here we've brought some sort of pigmented. This is what we call the alteration that sits in the margin of the deposit. So this is the sort of hematite that we see. The system itself demagnetizes. It's a bit technical, but we basically use that as a marker to show where the edge of the system is.
From the non-technical perspective myself, what I'm seeing is a lot of complexity. There's a lot of different stuff. Is that good or is it bad?
Oh, complexity is good. Complexity is good. So
unlike in Mirage.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is a bit of a freak of nature, and that's a good thing. Okay. The most important thing is that we're getting continuity. So when we're planning to drill a hole and we're hitting a target, we hit it. Okay. So that's the good news. So it looks complicated, but we understand.
We've started to understand the geometry of the charger system now.
Okay. Let's look at the BBM intercepts. They look, again, quite different. Remind me, how far is this core from that core on a lateral extent?
It's about 7 or 8 kilometers. It's not that far.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite.
But it looks
quite
completely different. Seems like it's a completely different system.
Yeah, so quite a different local geological setting. So it's more of a shear zone hosted system at BBM. But again, this is something I've said all along, is that, you know, we've had multiple discoveries, but they're all still part of the same plumbing system, alteration system, and so the mineralogy of the sulfide mineralogy with moly and tellurides and bismuth, and they are present in all the discoveries that we've made. So there is a local flavour to all of the discoveries, but we can quite happily tie them back into the same event.
What am I looking at here with the white speck?
The reason we've got these up here is we're just showing that as you get close to the mineralization, the strain increases. So here, this is actually relatively unstrained, weirdly. When you start to see it getting banded, that's just getting closer to the contact.
Okay.
And then when it starts to pop, that's where we have the mineralization. So we're just trying to show that we call it strain intensity.
We can't bring 60 meters of core to put it on display to show the whole thing. So we've just cherry-picked parts of what it, so people can see what it looks like to come from outside the mineralized system in and come in toward the mineralization and get towards where the higher grades are near that footwall contact. So it's to give people a flavour of what BBM looks like, and it's the same with what we've done with Charger. You know, these are, in a drill hole, these are big long intercepts, so we've just tried to bring in parts of the mineralized system so people can understand what it looks like when you're on the edge of the system, when you're coming into the system, and when you're in the main mineralization.
So what's left for you is essentially to go and find more of that and more of that. Are you doing that this year? Do you have enough money to do it? Do you have the plan? Do you think that's going to happen?
Yes, in short. So we'll on the joint venture properties, we'll probably drill about this quarter. We'll probably drill about 16,000 meters, all told, once we're done. And so we're still drilling now, but we will be close to finishing that up at the end of the month or early in April. And it's including some new targets like Lando. I mean, Lando's not a new target, but we haven't really drilled a lot of system. We're drilling some nice system fences through there, and so it's a 4 kilometre long copper gold moly anomaly, big footprint. And so we've come in and we'll, with 3 system fences, we'll cover roughly 2 kilometres and just get a handle on what Lando looks like. And it might be another discovery for us within the joint venture. Fremen might be another discovery for us within the 100% of Wiley permits, and that's all from the drilling that we've done this quarter. And then beyond that, there is also drilling along strike from BBM, looking at satellite targets along the same structure of BBM. So that Fremen's part of that, but it's in the 100%, and then we're doing the same thing in the joint venture ground as well. So there's could be some new discoveries as part of this drilling, as well as the follow-up drilling that we've been doing at BBM and Charger and Empire.
Yeah. One last question. As a Scotsman, how do you find dealing with the Aussie enthusiasm?
Well, we can be a bit dour and Presbyterian, so yeah, I think we balance that quite well.
The core that you have here with you, you've obviously brought the best core with you, or that's at least what I would assume.
We intended to, and it was delayed in shipping, the polished core, and it arrived at the hotel a few minutes ago, so it'll be here tomorrow. Okay. We've got unpolished core from the same hole here. Yeah. Doesn't look as jazzy to the non-geological eye. You need to lick it and get a hand lens in there. With the polished core, it's pretty easy to see. We do have one piece of polished core there we can show you though.
What percentage of the core looks like the one that you have now? Well, at the hotel, not here, but what percentage of your core actually looks like that?
So, we've got photos of this, and as we drill, we'll put out other photos, full disclosure of everything going in the future. When you're in the nice zone of Williams, that's what it looks like. Obviously, when you're out of mineralization, that's not what it looks like. But that's pretty easy. That's the target. You want to go find more of that. So you need to find the signature for that, and then and use our team's skill to go do that. We've got different styles of mineralization on the project, though. There's a number of different undrilled targets.
Let's have a look.
Here. Yeah.
What is it that we're looking at?
So, and it's great here. I've got an interesting piece of core here. So this is Williams. This is potassic alteration with quartz stockwork through it. You can see bornite right in there, bornite and chalcopyrite, a big chunk of bornite here. So this is like really good grade. This is probably from an interval that was probably 1% copper, 1 gram gold. And what's really interesting, so one of our advisors, Stephanie Sikora, porphyry expert, she taught the porphyry course here on Saturday, and she brought this to the course, but she also had a piece of North Park's core that looks very similar. This is a mine in Australia. We got photos comparing these in our presentation. North Park's looks like Cadia. Cadia looks like Red Chris. Red Chris is up the road from us.
Same age rocks?
No, that's the interesting thing, is that we are within 1 million years of age of Mitchell, the largest gold deposit on Earth. This is the biggest system in KSM. I think it's also a top 10 copper deposit. Doesn't get much attention for that because it's lower grade copper. So we're the same age as that, but we look like Red Chris. Okay. So maybe it's some hybrid. Maybe we get, the goal would be to get the Mitchell tonnage and the Red Chris grade. Either way, the rocks look great. Like this pink rock generates a lot of buzz because it just has potential for higher grades.
Right. Okay. What are the chips that you have here with you? That black stuff, what is that?
Yeah, like this one, for example, here. So this is one of these that actually has seen drilling, and it's a totally different style of porphyry mineralization. It's called Maricunga style, where you get sheeted veins, and there's actually very little copper in this. This is from an outcrop that they drilled a couple holes into. They drilled 90 meters of 7 grams gold. Till covered area, totally underexplored. But it just demonstrates like the fertility of the project. There's all these different styles of mineralization. Another one to look at would be, this is a grizzly, an alkalic Galore Creek age system. Look at the amount of copper sulfide in there. It's just jammed. And then also we brought one piece. I didn't want to distract or detract from this story, but we brought one piece from our Gold Range project, which is pretty cool looking rock here. So there's a wide variety here. This isn't necessarily to target investors. This is more to show corporates and geologists. Okay. And I know we are. I would say we're probably one of like the highest geologically, or geologists like to invest in our company. Okay. So I've met many people here who've been, I'm a shareholder. I'm like, oh, cool.
The way you talk about the rocks, people think you're a geologist too. So you actually, maybe starting at the top row, that's kind of broken up rock. What am I looking at?
This is actually a series of the drill holes, just a section of rock from a series of drill holes that we drilled at the end of last year. So this top section we've got a very altered leached lithocap, which is typical of these kind of systems. And so it's a very kaolinite-rich clay zone that we were drilling through. But if you look here, you can see classic porphyry veining. That's what you call a B-type vein. And so we've got porphyry mineralization sitting at surface. So this hole is right at the very tip of our copper anomaly. If you move 5 kilometers to the north, you come to this hole here, which was the 547 meter intercept. And what we actually find here is evidence of another porphyry. So this ties into the whole idea that we've got multiple porphyries along a 9 kilometer trend.
If I saw these rocks in 3 different booths, I wouldn't have guessed that they're from one system?
No.
Is that because the system has been mineralized multiple times, or what are these rocks really telling us?
Yeah, it's telling us a number of things. Number one, we're probably different levels in a porphyry system. So if you can imagine a 9 kilometre trend, this porphyry might be at surface, this one might be deeper, and you're sort of seeing the rocks and the alteration at a shallower level. And then just different pulses, so different intrusions are going to look slightly different.
Yeah. But so we're seeing some orange and some green here, and that's how a non-geologist talks about rocks, I guess. But what am I looking at?
Yeah. So what we've got here is the first 300 meters of that big intercept was actually through breccia, what we call a breccia pipe, and if you look at the orange here, we think that's potassic flooding. So just altering the rock to potassic or potassic type alteration. But then if you look, you've got certain chunks or clasts. So it's a very violent explosion, and what's filled in between the clasts is lots of sulfide. So you can see lots of pyrite and chalcopyrite here. So I mean, that's grading over 2% copper and 5 grams gold.
Okay. So we have a leached cap, we have the B veins, we have a breccia with sulfides in it. The only thing left for you is to go and drill it.
That's the plan. So 2025, 20,000 metres, we're targeting the Alamus prospect, and then we're also going to test another brand new copper anomaly, which looks even bigger.
I want to go and look at the core, but first of all, I want to ask you, because it's very eye-catching core, how much of the drilling that you've done so far actually looks like this? Like, how representative is this batch?
This is incredibly representative, and so every hole we drilled looked like this, and that's a bit misleading because the grade's variable throughout this deposit. So you'll have higher grade sections, but they all kind of look the same, and it's really the assays tell the tale. But visually, yeah, it all looks really flashy.
I wish I could show weight on camera, because it almost feels like holding metal, not rock.
Yes. No, you're basically holding 30% metal, and you know that's why this was such a prolific mine, is it graded 30% combined base metals, and it was the highest grade mine in the world during its 50-year operating history, and so that's really why we're exploring it, is because we think there's a chance to make a new discovery in that same order of magnitude that was overlooked by the previous miners back in early days of exploring.
Does it make your metallurgy more complex, though, given that it is that high, that high concentration of metals?
It doesn't, and I'll tell you, normally in a VMS environment it would, but because the Buckins deposit here is pyrite poor, which is a bit unusual, and very barytic, it produces a very clean ore. So you see recoveries 80% in copper and zinc here, and there's no, nefarious elements of concern because you don't have the arsenopyrite here, whereas some of the other deposits in the camp do, and so you have acid rock drainage issues.
Let's go and look at the top. It kind of looks like the core. It kind of looks like a countertop. That's why I'm misspeaking. What am I looking at? What are the white spots in between all the dark?
That's a great question, Antonio. The white spots are barite, and so that's what makes this. I mean, you see that in most VMS deposits, but there's just a lot more barite here at Buckins than is typical, and that's also what gives it that weight. Barite's a very heavy mineral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so there's basically gray, white, and black that we're looking at, or is that a dark purple? What is it?
Yeah. So what you'll see here is the gray and black will be your sphalerite and galenas, and then your purple will also be galena, but it could be the chalcopyrite, so what carries the copper. So for instance, like here, you see this. This is all chalcopyrite, and this section graded 50% combined base metals. So you can see where the copper came out, and so that's fairly typical of this deposit.
There's also, if you look closely, there's kind of like green specks. Is that what's that?
There's a bit of chlorite in the deposit, but so that gives it the greenish tinge. Okay. Yeah.
So this year you're going to go looking for more of this stuff, essentially.
That's right. We're actually going to go looking for more of this.
Okay.
And so this is the massive sulfide that they mined out, whereas this is the feeder mineralization that fed this.
Okay.
And so this was 30% combined base metals. This is more like 5%. So still great by today's metal price environment, but we want to find more of this. And so that's what we're going to do in looking across the rest of the project where it hasn't been explored for before, to find more of this, while still incrementally growing this resource space.
How much money do you want to spend on doing that this year?
We're funded $4 million we're going to spend on drilling and geophysics this year. So that'll get us 10,000 meters of drilling.
What about timing? How much time do you need? When are you going to have assays out?
So we started the IP survey just a couple weeks ago, and then we'll be drilling by the end of March. And so first assays early April.
Okay. So no need to raise capital before you've actually had potentially share price moving events.
Exactly. I'm not going to raise down at these levels and ahead of what's sure to be a catalyst-filled 2025 for us.
This rock here looks interesting. It's a chip. chip sample, I assume. What are we looking at?
Well, this is a surface sample of a block that was in the district. It's a transported block, but I bring this to compare this block with these veins that were found about 200 meters deep, and this is one of the veins we are looking for, the high-grade gold veins. You can see it has a 0.7 meter, around a meter with 52 grams gold and about 600 grams of silver.
Yeah. What's the purple stuff in the veins that we're seeing here?
That's amethyst. It's a variety of quartz. So for us, these kind of veins are the gold-rich and the more higher temperature veins. So this is the target. And as you can see, I put everything here all together because this is the more higher temperature, this is more less temperature and even less temperature. So there is a zonation in the deposit. So we are looking for the higher temperature is where the gold is concentrated.
Okay. This looks like a breccia to the non-geologist eye. Am I correct?
You're fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a breccia. Perfect
I can start
breccia.
pretending that I know what I'm talking about now.
You're doing well. Yeah, that's a breccia, but if you have a look at all the cores, you will find that that's the only breccia, and it's a small tectonic breccia into a vein, because all the veins here are extensional veins. You can see no breccia into the core, because that means that the fracture opens and was infilled by the quartz.
Yeah.
So it's really good for this project, because you don't have too much breccia.
I thought breccia was supposed to be good.
Breccia is good, but if you have extensional vein, are better.
Let's go and look at Kukamas, because you've brought some beautiful rocks with you. What I'm noticing, or the first thing I'm noticing, is this looks very metallic, and I'm going to pretend that I know what I'm talking about for a second. Is this massive sulfide that we're looking at?
Yes, sir. It's very metallic. This section corresponds to really an outstanding nickel-rich drill core. Up to 19.6% nickel and close to 10 gram per ton PGs, which is really an outstanding core. In that case, we have two stacked massive sulfide layers related to ultramafic flows, namely comatite. And again, the five first holes drilled on this outcropping showing are mineralized and are just like fully open along strike and open at depth.
When you talk about 20% nickel, almost 20% nickel in some cases, does that make the metallurgy more complicated in any way?
Not really, because metallurgy is related to the size of the crystals, and in that case we deal with coarse mineralogy. It's not really, it's a little bit too early. Of course, we will have to do a metallurgic test, but it's looking nice.
And then with the core box that you have right above it, I see these specks in it that are kind of silverish in color. What is that?
Stibnite and arsenopyrite. This is a second discovery, our second favorite child. We love this discovery. It's 100% owned by Azimut, and we want to quickly advance it. You may be aware, but the antimony price is surging related to a complete export ban from China, which is essentially controlling the antimony market. The current price per ton is around $40,000 per ton for antimony. Unfortunately, we have certainly one of the best antimony prospects in Canada, and our will is to quickly advance this discovery by additional drilling.
Would you consider selling it? Because antimony, and where I'm coming from with this, is that antimony is it's a very volatile metal. It's a niche metal too. So as quickly as it went up, it could, I'm not saying it would, but it could as quickly come down.
Yes, we know that volatility is part of the game. We are well aware about that, but at current time there is a real stress on a worldwide basis for the antimony supply. And antimony is not like lithium. You don't have antimony everywhere, which is the case in the James Bay region. We have outstanding antimony lithium deposits in the James Bay region, but it's not the case for antimony in Canada. This is one of the very best antimony discovery in Canada at current time, it's not only about antimony, it's also related to gold. On most of the time, or in most cases, antimony can announce better gold grades deeper. It's a pathfinder for gold anyway, in all cases. By drilling deeper, we may reach a gold-rich zone.
Well, I would assume you've brought the best core that you have here to showcase, but what percentage of the core you've drilled so far actually looks like this? How representative is this?
In fact, we just started to drill. We are really at the initial drilling phase. This is about 1% antimony over 20 meters. It's open along strike, it's open at depths. What we need to do is to drill more, much more. But we are confident that we should be able to quickly delineate an antimony gold zone in that area.
Kukumas is being paid for, or drilling on Kukumas is being paid for by the JV partner. What about the antimony project?
This is a project which is funded by Azimut. We wish to quickly advance by ourselves this project. We foresee a real potential. The timing is good. And of course, antimony by itself is a target, but we keep the objective, the clear objective to delineate also a gold resource, which can be related to the antimony content.
Well, this type of deposit is not like a copper deposit where it's disseminated mineralization, widespread. These deposits, you're either in high grade or you're not. And that's just the way the chemistry works, the fluids. So these obviously are some of the most spectacular, some of the higher grade, but on average, this is what the rocks look like. So it's you're either in white dolomite, which is the host rock, or you're in semi-massive to massive sulfide. So it's these are pretty typical and not that unusual. Well, they're very unusual to find something this high grade. I'll say that.
Let's go the other way around and actually look at the core. Okay, let me start off with what catches my eye, and you tell me if it's right to catch my eye. But this whitish rock here, what is it that we're looking at?
I'll check the drill hole. So this is one of our newer ones. So this is drilled in 2022. The white rock would be the carbonate host rock, and the galena, argentiferous galena, is the black in between. And then you can check the grade and see you have both silver, zinc, and lead. The key to these deposits is they're really high grade. So this is an example of one that's 914 grams silver, 24.4% zinc, and 31.5% lead. So this is very high grade, obviously. Hole 2217. Overall intercept is 47 meters. So very good thickness, allows for very efficient, high-grade underground mining called long hole stoping. Very different from a Mexican vein deposit where you have 10 and 15 mine headings. Here you can have 4 or 5 and produce a lot more rock faster.
Yeah. What about this reddish stuff here? What's that?
This is an example if you can feel the difference in the weight between
this
one.
is light. This is
it's light.
We can throw it.
And that one is heavy. Okay.
It's heavy.
This is just oxidized. The red would be an iron oxide. So the pyrite, iron sulfide has all been weathered. Oxidized just means
it's like rust.
Like rust, and you lose a lot of the weight. Usually you lose the zinc, and the silver will go away first, and lead is more immobile and will stay. So it's just an oxidized surface. You find this closer to the surface. So.
Right. What about the silver metal vein-looking thing? I don't even know if it is a vein, but what's that silverish thing inside?
That's just an example of the very high-grade galena. All the silver is contained within the galena. So the galena here is, because it's so high in silver, very reflective, very shiny, and that's what catches. This is a polished rock, so it catches your eye.
but this is the fresh rock. You can see it still glints in the light. It just, that's what high-grade lead and silver look like.
This is only a very, very small part of what you've drilled. What percentage of what you've drilled so far actually looks like this? Because I assume you bring your best part here, your best stuff here to attract attention, but what percentage looks like this?
Yeah, I mean, if you think of GFT over the last 5 years in Timmins, drilling 6,000 meters a year is probably on average, drill 30,000 meters, that's maybe like 75 or 80 holes. So that's what we've done over 5 years. Of those 85 holes, if we took over the time, we've seen good solid results, and by that I mean some sort of economic hit, greater than say 15 or 20 gram meter products, anywhere up to 200. I think probably about 40% of our holes have returned good economic intercepts, particularly at our most advanced targets like Aljo and Montclair. Hit rate on those pushing well over 50%, 60% to return high quality economic intercepts.
Right. Let's actually look at the core. We'll be showing it on screen right now. What am I looking at? This darker gray stuff, what's that?
This rock is a mafic volcanic rock. This is from Montclair. The grades in here are anywhere from 2 to 20 grams per ton. The textures in here are really, really attractive. A lot of sulfide in this rock. This one in particular here I just picked up was about 6 grams per ton. Parts of it are 20 grams per ton. This is from Montclair. This is about a 400 meter deep hole. An intercept that was 13 meters at 5 grams, so quite reasonable, 65 gram meter product. That's an economic intercept. The other holes over there from Aljo, also very high grades. Those are more surface. There's visible gold in those. So rocks, to me, that's what this company's about. These are from 3 different systems, 3 different host rocks, but all on the Gold Arm property.
Does that complicate your geology? Because it's 3 different types of rocks. I mean, and to me, let me tell you what I see.
Yep.
Dark gray, lighter gray, very dark gray. Does that complicate things though?
Every deposit has a structural and evolutional story in itself. And the trick of the good geologist is you need to understand that story. So we need to understand why this rock is a good host to gold. Can it be recovered metallurgically? Where does it go? How big is it? What grade is it? And for each of these pieces, that's what we're doing. So there's complexity there, but that's what makes gold deposits. In the end, gold is often in complex geological settings, and that's why it is. It needs cracks in the rock, it needs fractures, it needs deformation, and that's what makes these gold deposits. So to me, the trick is finding good geologists to understand why the gold is where it is, where does it go, what size it is, and we're working through that with each of these deposits and each of these host rocks.
Yeah, so I mean, this is actually about the Argus North zone, so it's got 1 hole in it, so basically we're 1 for 1. So, but it's 100 meters north of the main Argus zone that we identified. We have 15 holes in the main Argus zone, and it started in the eastern part, and it was the discovery hole is about 136 meters of 0.54. Half gram is not overly, doesn't get people too excited, but that width clearly demonstrates it's a big hydrothermal system here. So that got me excited, and it got us excited. So we have subsequently drilled to the west, and we're doing 100 meter step outs, which for a small exploration company, that's a pretty bullish sign. And we kept delivering results. And so as we've been marching to the west, as the zone is converging with the pipestone, the grades are getting better. So, it's going from 136 meters of, 0.5 to, 63 meters of a gram. Within there's almost 20 meters of 2.2, and that starts from surface. Like there's no very little to no overburden. So it's not like the other projects that we have that in the camp that are under a swamp or have 70 meters of sand that you have to remove. Like this is an outcrop, and the reason why it was kind of overlooked was the last time this was explored or looked at was in the early 90s, and the limited work by that previous company, they were seeing like it's half gram, 1 gram in the early 90s, and it's hosted in a varolitic basalt, which, that wasn't what a lot of people were looking for back then. It was, high-grade veins, Timmins-style high-grade vein-hosted orogenic systems is what was in vogue. But so it was walked over and not really looked at. And so it took us to actually really identify it to be a bulk tonnage discovery, and, in concurrent, environment, macro environment and commodity price environment, 1 gram works really well in this camp, right? So that's what, we identified it as, no, this is, a great has tremendous discovery potential. And so, we kept doing those big step outs, and now, like I said, in 15 holes, we identified a quite substantial footprint, mineralized footprint, and it's completely open. So, our immediate kind of plans is to get back to Timmins in in the coming months here and expand these two discoveries, in addition to this high-grade vein that I haven't talked about yet, but we're really excited about that as well. In addition, hopefully that gives us that re-rate, and then that lowers our cost of capital, and then we can continue to raise more money at a higher valuation, which we can start to allocate towards our greater portfolio of assets.
I also see a very interesting rock just laying there. It almost seems like that's gold. Is it? What's that, pyrite in it? What am I looking at?
Yeah, it's quite a bit of gold.
That's actually gold?
It is. It's about, so this piece is about 30% weight, gold by weight, and or about 19,000 ounces per ton. It was originally, it's from our Croesus, the historic Croesus mine, which we control. It's kind of the nucleus of our Munro Croesus property, and but it's fantastic grades. It was the highest grade past producing mine in Ontario. There's museum specimens in the Royal Ontario Museum as well. It's a fabulous thing, but it was, the history is a little bit undocumented because it was so high grade that it was hand mined and put into metal cases and sent to the Canadian Mint and melted directly down to coins. So the only documented history on the mine itself was actually the low grade, which was 95 grams per ton, in about 18,000 ounces, because that's the only stuff that went through a mill.
The really low grade.
Yeah, the really low grade, right? And so, but it's interesting to talk about, what I mentioned earlier, that created a staking rush 100 years ago. So everybody, rushed out there to get a patent claim and, to get a potential exposure for the next Croesus discovery, right? But that led to this legacy of all this fragmented ownership. And so that's what I said before, where we've done 30 deals with, a lot of families who, been passed down multiple generations. Some of them have had it for 100 plus years. Frankly, some of them didn't even know that they had control of those patent claims. So it's a lot of hard work to, figure out who's the owner of this patent claim and actually transact and do a deal. But, that hard work is worth it because you can clearly see it's a very well-endowed area. We really like, obviously, the potential. So now it's coming together. And sure enough, these 3 new greenfield discoveries on that property are a testament of, our strategy of consolidate, apply modern technology and thinking, and then execute through the drill bit and create value. So it's been awesome, and I have a fabulous team that's certainly done a great job of unlocking the value of myself and others really pushing hard on consolidation. So it's exciting, and you look at the camp as a whole. Discovery Silver just acquired the Porcupine asset for $425 million US, and so that's great because they're a junior. They're going to put their time, the people, and the capital to really unlock the value there, and the mill's half full. So there's going to be organic growth potential, and there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that I'm sure they can do. But frankly, they're older assets as well. So you've seen they're going to have to look for other opportunities to grow as well, right? Other than just organically. You've seen that it happen out in Val-d'Or, for example. Eldorado comes in, acquires Integra Gold, and they've acquired several other companies. Same thing as Anico recently buying O3 Mining, and obviously that's just fill the mill strategy, right? You have established mills, existing agreements with government, with First Nations, so it's an excellent place to continue to grow, right? In terms of it's the lowest risk, way to continue is by optimizing and leveraging what you have. So it's a perfect opportunity for an exploration company like us, where we're the largest, we own the largest land position for a junior in the camp. So our goal is by creating, making discoveries, creating value, and I think it's pretty understandable to see what an exit strategy would be, providing that growth for the guys who want to leverage their existing operations.
You've also brought some core with you, as well as some chip and grab samples that I want to look at. But what percentage of the core that you've drilled so far actually looks like this? Like, how representative is the thing that we're looking at?
Yeah, so we're very early in the drilling stages of our catch property. We've only done 10 holes so far for about just under 6,000 meters. We have intercepted some significant intercepts at our spark zone in particular, with the discovery hole being 116 meters of 0.3 copper and 0.3 gold. So we're still trying to figure out the exact dimensions and trends, but there's some scale to it for sure.
So, and this is porphyry core that we're looking at here. What is it that we're looking at here? It's essentially, to a non-geologist, this is black, gray, and white. What are we looking
That's
at?
correct. Yeah, so this is from hole 2. This is our discovery hole. We're looking at a diorite, a mineralized diorite here, in a kind of alkalic skewing porphyry setting. So we have a mineralized diorite with disseminated chalcopyrite and pyrite throughout the diorite, with chalcopyrite also replacing mafic minerals. And then we do see the odd quartz vein with centerline chalcopyrite as well.
My wife tells me that size doesn't matter, but does the size of these veins matter?
They can. So there's two schools of thought for porphyry deposits: calc-alkaline and alkalic. Alkalic don't have as many as much quartz veining. However, they are good to have. Yeah.
Hole 2 and hole 6 don't look exactly the same. Actually, they look different, with some of the clasts looking different, at least to me. What's the difference, and is that a good thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great observation. So the difference here is in hole 6, we're getting mineralization within our host basalt and gabbro. So this is mineralization bleeding out into the host rock, not just situated in the intrusion, which is a good thing to see.
Is that telling you anything about the temperature of the system and where it picks up or where it drops off?
So it is telling us there is heat coming off of this system, and it does move into the host volcanics for some distance, which is a good thing, and it shows there's some scale and potential there.
What about that's a grab sample, I assume, that you have over there? It seems rusted. I see a little bit of green, so it's telling me potentially copper. What am I looking at?
Yeah, so this is so we've been doing a lot of regional exploration within the Stikine terrain in Yukon. So this is a grab sample from one of our newly staked properties called Max. And this is a brand new discovery on the western side of our property that this has about 3% copper and just over a gram gold. So that's very exciting, and just kind of shows the exploration that we're doing in the Stikine. There is new things to be found.
What's the shiny stuff that I'm looking at right there?
That would be chalcopyrite. So
Okay.
that's a main copper ore for sure. Yeah.
Do you have to have bornite in this rock for you to be getting bullish on the target, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, although if we can find some, I'd love to have it. Yeah.
You also have some rocks with you here at the core shack. I want to go and look at them, and you can tell me what we're looking at.
Absolutely. So we've got some of our better holes here. Holes 23, 18, 21, and 10. Those are our holes that have greater than 100 continuous meters of spodumene pegmatite. And we cherry-picked some high-grade intervals that are somewhere around 2 or 3% lithium oxide, just for fun. But on average, it's about 1.4% lithium oxide as well. So
The core looks very homogeneous, and they typically tell me, at least porphyries is what I've looked at a lot here, they tell me that complexity is good. You don't seem to have that complexity. What does that mean?
actually, it's good to have consistency from a mining and processing perspective. It looks very consistent because all the minerals are white. So spodumene here is white, so is the quartz, so is the feldspar. So it looks very homogeneous, but the spodumene is the only mineral here for lithium, which helps us so that the downstream processing, you're only treating one mineral, it makes it simple. Yeah.
I'm not a geologist, so the only thing I see here is colors and some nice glitters. What is the green stuff that I'm looking at?
Yeah, sometimes our spodumene is green. It's not common, but that green mineral is spodumene, and that just varies in the iron content or manganese or magnesium content of the spodumene. But for the most part, it's all clear, white, clean spodumene.
Is that telling you anything about the potential recoveries in the metallurgy of the project?
A little bit. For the most part, the biggest factor for spodumene recovery will be the ability to crush it and liberate the spodumene, and then the coarseness of it. Because if it's nice and coarse, then you can do a simpler processing. You don't have to involve the more expensive flotation circuits. If you can just do DMS processing, it's a well-known consistently applied processing technique over many different deposits.
And I assume you've brought your best core with you. What percentage of the stuff that you've drilled actually looks like this?
This is very representative. Yeah, exactly.
So most of what you've drilled actually looks like this. It's the green and then the kind of the whitish spot. You mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's go and look at the rocks and see what the team has come up with and what you've brought here with you. Let's maybe start here at the upper left. I see some blue, which is catching my eye. What's that?
So this is what initially drew us to Bambino, which is the area that we drilled. So there was one Yugoslav trench on the top of a ridgeline that no one had looked at since 1970. And I turned up, and the first rock I picked out had azurite and malachite through it, and quartz limonite stockwork. So that's what we shortly followed with a tight 25 by 50 meters.
Why is that good, by the way? I'm sorry for interrupting.
So this is secondary copper minerals at surface, which, I mean, if you turn up and the first rock you see is blue, that's a really, really good sign. And then we followed that with some trenching across this ridgeline. So it was limited to, the longest trench was 150 meters, and we found this stockwork material across the whole hill, and I think the average grade over 133.5 meters was 0.43% copper, which is sort of in line with the other deposits in the region at surface, which is good. And then, yeah, this was consistent across the whole hill, which is then why we drilled a couple of scout holes to see what's happening at depth. And we don't have the assay results back yet, but we intercepted some really nice alteration, which looks like we're on the outer portions of a big system. So we have chlorite, epidote, skarn with garnets, and then hematite alteration selvages with quartz calcite veins with sulfides, mainly pyrite, some chalcopyrite. I don't think we're going to get huge numbers from this, but it proves that we're in the right area for the system. You don't get these kind of rocks when you're not next to a big system.
Right.
Yeah, and then we have some more typical skarn with garnets, and then with several phases of overprinting veins. So these are what look like B veins. So you see the center fill is quite distinctive to porphyry deposits, which is all really good indications. And then, yeah, we have some massive arsenopyrite and pyrite that we weren't expecting in some sort of separately structurally controlled zones. So we had a couple of these intercepts as well. We don't have the assay results back yet, so I can't build too much more on that. But
what are the clasts that we're looking at there in the upper right?
So these are from the Nova Tlamino project, which is in the south of Serbia, and that's a really exciting project as well. We have a 670,000 ounce inferred gold equivalent resource on that, which is 550,000 ounces gold around there and 8 million ounces silver. Lots of upside potential around that as well. So the whole resource is bound by a post-mineral fault to the south, and there's only been one hole drilled to the south of that, looking for the extension. So yeah, that's where we've been down there with a couple of structural geologists trying to unravel where the southern portion of the resource has been faulted off to. So that's another thing that we're doing at the minute as well.
You sound at least twice as excited about the stuff in the eastern part of the country than you do about the southern part.
Well, I mean, I'm really excited about this side as well, but this has been the focus of the last month or so, so I'm just more enthusiastic, I guess, at the minute. But down in Tlamino, we have some really great targets as well. I mean, that's Barrier to the right. You can see this is the surface soil anomalism. So, and that's Karamanitsa, a target that's only had 8 drill holes in, which are in drilled by the previous company, and I think we can definitely optimize that drilling and hit some nice things. You can just see the scale of it, so 2 by 3 kilometer surface anomaly, and I mean anything red there is above 100 parts per billion gold in the soils, so it's a really strong, robust target that we need to figure out where the source of that soil anomalism is coming from is one of our big jobs that we're...
You've also brought some core with you, which I want to go look at here in a second, but what percentage of all the stuff that you've drilled so far actually looks like this? Like, how representative is this core box behind us?
Well, that's another brilliant question, Antonio. This is indicative of one of these very, very steeply oriented chutes that we now understand because, historically they drilled vertical holes, and this higher grade mineralization is confined to vertically oriented chutes. So this very first hole, drill hole 23003, we had 20 plus meters of 2% nickel, but we were in the plunge of one of these vertical chutes that we now recognize. That, I think, was misunderstood when this was first drilled in the mid-1960s.
Right. So how representative is it? How much of the stuff that you have do you think actually looks like this?
Well, it tells us that this mineralization has been remobilized, and that's important because we have the sulfide breccias. We also have massive sulfide veins, so that is an indication that this is all coming from a source of massive sulfides within what we now call the container rock. So that's been very, very encouraging. And so it's representative in that it tells us sort of the bigger picture, the possible bigger picture.
Let's go and have a look at what we're actually looking at. From the surface, we're talking, again, massive sulfide, so I assume the grayish metal, or what is it, would that be beige? That's just the massive sulfides that we're looking at.
Yeah, so it technically we're not quite massive. I will show you a piece of massive, but this is what we call our sulfide breccia. And so the black that you see in the core, that is the host rock that has been sucked in and remobilized as this, if you just think of this massive or semi-massive ooze of sulfide grabbing away at the country rock. So that is the black rock that you see. The brassy colored rock is the pyrrhotite. And within the pyrrhotite, all these ghost-like crystals that you see, these are disseminated coarse grains of pentlandite. And what's unique about Goshagar is within the pentlandite, we have significant cobalt. Significant in the fact that it's 6 times more cobalt associated with pentlandite than, say, they have at Norilsk. 3 times more cobalt in our pentlandite than the Sudbury mining camp. So it is a very, very unique characteristic of this deposit, and that too has attracted a lot of attention from people that understand magmatic nickel sulfide deposits.
What about that special little box over there?
This is massive sulfide, so you can see that there's no inclusions here. This runs 3.25% nickel. This was in the form of a vein. So again, another indication of this being squeezed into the host container rock from a source that should be quite significant. So that is the difference between the sulfide breccias and the massive sulfide veins. So again, we have disseminated. We have big, broad intervals, hundreds of meters of disseminated sulfide mineralization that hosts the semi-massive breccias, that hosts the massive sulfide veins. Where is the massive sulfide body? So that is our quest.
You brought some rocks with you. You got some porphyry rocks to show me?
Sure. These copper and gold-rich rocks are from some of the old mines on the Kincaid property in southern Nevada. So this is the mineral-rich Walker Lane trend. To have copper and gold together is kind of unusual in these kind of veins. So to us and to the experts we had on the property, this means there should be a porphyry type system below these. So then you look for evidence that there is an intrusion nearby. So on some claims that we just staked adjacent to it, we have rocks like this, which are garnet epidote pyroxene skarns covered with copper staining. So a skarn, of course, is altered rock formed right beside an intrusion, like a porphyry. And in this case, some of these were running 13% copper. There's magnetite rocks there that run 12 grams of gold. So magnetite veins you find in porphyry deposits and skarns as well. So this combination of having skarns, which mean there's a porphyry intrusion or some kind of intrusion at shallow depths right below it, is a great sign on parts of the property. And then probably underneath some of these vein deposits, it might be a little bit deeper, but there's signs that there's a metamorphic aureole. The rocks have been cooked by an intrusion underneath some of these veins. So we're quite confident that it won't be too deep in some of the areas and actually quite shallow in some of the other areas because we have rocks 13% copper coming down a creek at surface.
I would assume you bring your best stuff here, your best core, your best rock chip samples. How much of the project actually looks like this, though?
Well, This large one, for example, we probably have 20 rocks in this creek that kind of look like this. We assayed the first time we found them. We had 9 samples that ran between 0.7% copper and 13% copper. And then Stephen Barriga and I went back last summer. We found another 20 that's look equally good. The veins, this is very similar to what you see in front of many of these old mines. It's quite amazing. You go up to the old entrance to the mine, and there'll be piles of quartz covered in copper staining, run several percent copper and half an ounce of gold frequently. And sometimes you just pick up normal looking quartz veins from the dump, and it ran 72 grams gold. Nothing special about it. It was just spectacular gold grades. So we get great grades, great looking rocks at surface in these old small mines, but for us the big picture is underneath there should be a copper, gold, silver porphyry that's feeding these systems.
All right, so that's about it for the geology focused episode. Thank you so much for sticking around up until the end. There's going to be a second episode from my visit to the PDAC. That one, or the second one, was a corporate focused one where I asked the companies again, a couple of spicy questions. It's different companies too. So yeah, please stick around for that one. And thank you so much for watching Resource Talks.